On the 14th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for the invocation of pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight and we thank you and we magnify your name. This is the day that you have made and we are obligated to rejoice and be glad in it. We're decreeing and we're declaring in this place, God, that every crooked way will be made straight, every rough road will be made smooth, and your glory will be revealed even in us as we conduct business here for the town of White Springs. We will forever give your name honor, glory, and praise. In the matchless name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call is Jacqueline Williams, present. Nicole Williams, present. Larita McCall, present. Mary Berry, present. And Anita Rivers is present. We will continue. Are there any additions, deletions, and/or amendments to the agenda?
I do, but I'll talk about it for my department.
So it's just going to be in your report?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything from the council? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I'd like to move that we, I'd like to move that we accept that it is as the agenda as written.
Can I get a second on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, citizens from the floor, I have Mr. Robert Townsend. Will you please come forward and state your name and address, please?
Robert Townsend, 447 Northwest Stephen Foster Drive, White Springs, Florida. Madam Mayor, Council, City Manager, I appreciate the time tonight allowing me to come before you. These aren't complaints, these are some issues that I've called the City Manager about trying to set up a meeting to discuss what I'm fixing to talk to you about. That's the complaint I had in my presentation. The condition of the community center, the amphitheater, and the fitness trail. That was a $250,000 barn out grant that we did when I was city manager. For those of you, I worked with the city for 16 years. I was 13 years city manager. It's the deplorable condition that building is being left to come to. The grounds are unkept, the fence is falling down. The fitness trail you can't even see. Now, under contract with the state of Florida and those hard act grants, if you don't maintain their properties for public use, they can demand you pay that $250,000 back. The Mayor John Green Memorial Park, White Springs was one of the first cities to receive funding from the pilot program with rural development. We were the first. There were people in the state to contribute money to, and we were the first. The town council approved my proposal to turn the city vacant lot to a memorial of White Springs' first black mayor. The park was constructed by Mr. Earl Carter, Mr. Kenny Hutcherson, and myself. We built that little park, and it is fallen into total disrepair. A local citizen goes down and mows and cleans up the part of the park. A local citizen, not city staff. The FDOT Road Enhancement Project for street lighting and historic signage along US 41. When I wrote the grant and turned it into the state of Florida, it included lighting all the way to the boat ramp, the same historic lighting, the same historic signage all the way to the boat ramp. Why didn't that? What happened to those funds? What happened to the program that was left out of it? I wrote that grant, I submitted it, so I know what was in that grant. Kenny Hutcherson and I spent weeks walking the streets and mapping out where the poles were to go, the distances with lighting. It was a complicated project. And again, it wasn't completed. The boat ramp grant funded by Fish and Wildlife Grant Program. The original scope of the project I wrote was approved and proposed the boat ramp repair, ADA accessible boat launching facility, and the construction of ADA restrooms. Swanee River Water Management District even was going to contribute funding to complete that. The restrooms were never completed. I'd like to know an answer from someone, not tonight, but in the future, is what happened to the rest of that project. The downtown revitalization grant was a $250,000 project to improve the downtown area on Bridge Street and Hamilton Avenue and put in the park that runs from Hamilton Avenue over to US 41. Those are also being left all into disrepair. That was hard money to get. I had to go before the county Economic Council and request that funding. And then they tried to pull $100,000 out of it, and I said, no, the original proposal was $250,000. Those crepe myrtle trees along US 41 and along Hamilton Avenue, 15 years ago, we paid $40 for it. Goodness gracious, what it would cost today. And they are also being left in disrepair. You let the suckers keep coming out from the bottom of those trees, because those are trees, not bushes, they're going to die. And it's just a matter of things just going down here, clipping the suckers off the trees. I mean, it's not brain science here. Also on that project, I don't know if you're aware of this, council is aware of it or not, the mining severance tax money that Hamilton County receives, all three municipalities should equally get some of that money. We're the first municipality to get that money from the county. County has to approve it. It has to be an economic development project. There's a lot of money out there that you can go after. The Carver School Project, the Town Council, the White Springs Faith-Based Community Organization, and myself and many citizens worked over several years holding meetings to decide what to do with this Carver School property. It took 2 years to get the county school board to agree to giving the property to the city in the lieu that we begin the project. When I left the city, there was a $600,000 grant on file with the state being considered for funding. What happened there? I drove down there the other day and it's just vacant. There's nothing at all going on. And finally, my frustration, I called City Hall 3 times. 3 different times, 3 different days, at different hours, always got a recording. So finally I left a message. 7 days later, I get a phone call. I asked to set up a meeting with the manager. I get a phone call that from the assistant. She claimed to be the assistant city manager, and wanting to know what I wanted to talk to the manager about. Well, this is it. I wanted to come sit and talk to you about these projects and that they can be revitalized, and they can be brought back to reputation and finished. Instead, I get her continuously questioning what it was about, and I said, I really want to speak to the manager. Well, I was traveling at the time, and I had it on Bluetooth, and I was having problems driving and traveling, and the lady finally said, well, I'll talk to the manager and get back to you another day. 2 minutes later, I got it on my phone. 2 minutes later, the manager called me, again stressing, what do you want to talk to me about? You're being very evasive. I said, I'm not being evasive. I'm traveling on the interstate, and I'd like to set a time for that meeting. This was Wednesday of last week. Thursday was out of the question. Friday you're closed. Today, Tuesday, I still have not received a phone call to come and talk to you about these projects, and if any of them can be started back up and finished. That's my complaint. And I would still like to set up a meeting with you to discuss what happened with these projects, if they can be restarted. You can certainly apply through the county for another MTOT road enhancement project and finish out that lighting on the south end of town. It's not complicated. You just go to the county and ask to do that. The way the county works is they give that program to different municipalities every other year. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time. I do have one other thing I'd like to give to the town clerk, or the city manager, I guess, if I may. It's a official 119 request according to Florida Statute 119. I'd like to be able to review the documents of the town budget, the town charter, and the town land development regulations. Thank you for your time. And I would like to set that meeting if possible.
Thank you. If you'll hand it to the town clerk. You can address me if you like.
Let's go with all the grants that they say were in place. When we came in, the only thing that we had going on was that community center, and it was 2 years behind. They haven't dug anything. We didn't know about any grants. There was nobody in to say, hey, this is what we're working on. So when I came in, hey, you got to find out what's going on yourself. So it was nobody to tell us any other grants that was going on. And what I found was that community grant, and that's why I just had to pay back $40,000 because the town of White Springs did not go through with that grant. The lighting, That's all in the grant that was before we came. So how many times White Springs changed managers, like 3 years within
But
a
it
short?
was the previous council the previous council decided how to set the lights through town.
Well,
They were
yes.
already set in place.
Right, so the restrooms being never complete, money given to the Carter, lighting, I have no idea about this, no information on that grant. Like I said, the community center, the new community center bill was the only grant that was in play. We had to pay back that money because it was supposed to be completed in 2021. And at 2021, nothing had been done but plans. So we couldn't finish that. Now, Mr. Townsend is correct about calling and wanting to meet. He said, what is it about? I tell you what I see. The kind of environment we're living in today, no sir. We have too much stuff going on for me not to just meet with some man without having any information. So he is telling the truth when he says, I refuse to meet with him without knowing what it was for. Because if you can't even tell me it's for town business, I was like, no, I was leery about meeting with someone. We have too many shootings, too many stuff going on. So I was like, no, that's not something I was comfortable with doing. And with the Carter, we've had another organization come in. They're supposed to do something with the Carter. We've already made a deal with that organization to do whatever. So we can follow up and see what they're going to do with the Carter. Oh, and the I'll let Ray talk on that park, because every time I even mention about the park, but they're saying it's so wet it holds water. I don't know how anybody can even get in there if that's the same park that we're talking about that I was mentioning. That's what he had a complaint. He to explain to them about that.
Yeah, it just stays wet. Somebody has been mowing. I don't know who's been mowing it.
He said that some citizens been trying to mow it, been mowing it. Now with the community center, we were waiting on the ARPA funds to be released so we can redo the community center and get it back to code. And that includes the amphitheater, because one of the council people are going to talk about that as well, that area. But all that area, we're trying to use funds to get that back up and running.
The community center is now a hazard to anyone to go inside because the floor is rotten.
And as we said before, and some of you all came in, we've been having problems with the phones. We had the tech guy here today over to get the phones, and we have other people that can attest to that. And I do apologize about the phones in the system. One was hit by lightning.
The messages don't come back until
Right.
days. Really go down. And some don't come back.
That was it.
Okay, Joe Griffin, please come forward, state your name and address.
Whole lot.
He won't be able to reach the link, but Joe Griffin, 16589 Mill Street in White Springs, Florida. And he wishes to address the neurological damage that he suffered in the July 2021 meeting because of Vanessa George's attack by crawling over a table, scaring him to death, and threatening him. It was an assault, Miss Vanessa. Okay, Joe.
Yeah, that's what it was, an assault. And I'm longer in this chair for the rest of my life. And that was uncalled for, unprofessional. Don't look at me.
He had a goose egg on the back of his head for 3 months. He lost his short-term memory. He couldn't walk at all. He couldn't stand at one time. He fell over various times. Our wonderful fireman, plus Scott Gay, have helped him off the floor more than once. And the fact is, this council didn't care that their manager was totally unprofessional, crawling over tables, and Ray Vaughn had to pull her off. I think it is disgusting, just absolutely disgusting that we have people like you that try to run a town.
Don't shake your head, no.
And you were lying about a lot of that information because I sent you information about those grant Smiths, and so did others, and you did nothing. nothing to keep things going. Now you're gonna try and get rid of our fire department, which is totally ridiculous. Kevin is one of the best people I have known. We fought for a long time to get him back. All you're gonna do is cost us insurance premiums when you get rid of all of these wonderful people. And not only that, for the people that don't have insurance, their houses will burn down, and so what, right? You don't live in this town. Do you have anything else, Joe?
No,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Price, please come forward, state your name and address.
That's okay, I don't think so.
Barbara Fryefield, come forward, state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Fryefield. I live at 16588 River Street in White Springs. I moved here about 4 months ago, and I petitioned the council to add on a deck, and I gave a form, I think, at that meeting a couple months ago. And I additionally sent all the statutes and the zoning issues to Vanessa, the town manager. And I haven't heard anything, and I wonder if we made a vote on that or made a decision about it.
Right now, I'm trying to get in touch with the planner, and we're trying to also hire a planner because I'm not in construction enough to tell you, okay, you can go and build this deck, raise the utilities director. We don't have anybody on the staff, but we are working on trying to get someone to be able to guide us on those type of things. We pretty much need planning and zoning. We're trying to get the maps and stuff from Kimberly Horn and get the information so we can get a planner to map out what is what and give you accurate, because I can't say, yeah, go ahead and build it even on the sidewalk.
Well, according to the statutes, the variance that I'm asking for is a yes or no. It either is accepted or it's not accepted.
Right, it's either accepted or, in order to be fair for you, because the easy thing is for me to say no. That's easy. But I don't want to say no. I would like to be fair for you, fair to you, and get someone out there and say, okay, this won't cause any problems. It won't be any issues. Now, I can do an easy answer, which would be no, but that's not, I don't want to do that.
Okay, so I'm not quite understanding what the next step may be.
The next step now, we're working on a plan. There's someone to map out, and then they can tell us and assist us with saying yes or no to these type of issues.
Okay, and when do you think a planner might be on board?
We're searching for one now.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Cheryl McCall.
My name is Cheryl McCall. I live at 16620 Spring Street. I'm just wondering how proactive you guys are being on getting these phones fixed. It's been this way forever. What is going on about why we can't get the phones?
We're in a 5-year contract with Blue Link. It was signed in early year of 20. I've even spoken with the attorney on how we can get out of the contract with Blue Link. To see if, because the phones don't work, so we've been trying to even get out of the contract and try to go with somebody else. But right now, we're stuck in a 5-year contract. And when they go out, we can't do anything but try to call Blue Link from our cell phones and try to get somebody out here.
There's no way Blue Link, I mean, I don't understand how a big
We've been
business.
have the attorney on this. We've been trying to.
There's it's a contract. It was approved by the council, signed by the town manager at the time. You can breach the contract at an unknown exposure and cost to the town and sign up with another provider, but at that point you can end
Do we have no recourse on getting our phones to work under this contract?
I just told you what you could do. You could breach this contract
Why
and
can't
hire
we force them to come fix it?
They come.
They do come. They respond.
They were here
It's
today.
just very unreliable. Very unreliable, sir. Again, it's called efficient breach. You can stop paying it and breach the contract, get another service provider, but then the town's liable to be sued. You know, it's a concept in the law called efficient breach.
And you're not putting the money to pay them in escrow until it's fixed?
And it doesn't.
no.
All right, any presentations? I get approval of the minutes for the May 10, 2022 town hall meeting and organizational meeting? Get a motion.
I, Jacqueline Williams, move that we approve the town hall meeting and organizational meeting minutes as written.
Can I get a second on the motion? Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, old business, status of the new motel on Spring Street, town manager.
Yes, I had an extensive conversation with Mr. Nakash, and Mr. Nakash, is he here? Okay, and we spoke with him and his son, and I'll let Mr. Nakash come forward. From what his understanding was, that it was a strong language barrier, and I tell you that after speaking with Mr. Nakash, I don't think he's trying to get over on the town, it's just a language barrier. Hamilton County gave him a certificate, a building certificate saying everything was complete. Because we're in Hamilton County, he thought it meant he was good for Hamilton County. He's still doing an apartment complex. So he's running it as an extended stay, just like many of the apartment complexes. Did you bring your person here to help me? Okay. Hello?
Mr. Nicholas, the engineer.
Okay.
Nicholas Geisler, architect. I'm here to speak on behalf of Chief Cash to see if I can answer any questions you might have. This project started out as a renovation of an existing, rather dilapidated motel, and he has done work in other parts of the county, other parts of North Florida, and has done wonderful work doing restoration work, and that sort of goes back to the tax base, so to speak. So what he failed to do was bring for you folks and to seek your approval prior to getting started, tell you to have everything you need. He's got his construction permit from Hamilton County. He also has the Department of Professional Regulation permit for operating a motel. And so he's got most of his ducks in a row after this last one.
It's just a matter of an occupational license?
Yes. So what is the establishment? Is it an extended stay, motel, apartment?
This
What
is
is
going
it?
to be an extended stay, living units, it's single occupancy, 19 possible total units there. And we are working this time to develop a site plan that will reflect at least a minimum of 1 car per unit, plus a handicap space.
So we say extended stay. What is the length of the stay? Because extended stay could be forever, but I just keep having my
It
money.
could be forever.
So that's an apartment.
As long as they make their payments and then they're not doing something that's against the rules and regulations, they're welcome to stay. Right.
How long is extended stay?
It is whatever the individual who's staying there determines it to be.
What's the difference between that and an apartment then?
Civil engineer.
Hi, Carol Shea, professional engineer. I will tell you that this is, the occupancy for this is a hotel or motel. It's not an apartment. It has no cooking facility in it. And as with any hotel, as long as someone is paying, they could stay there forever. But these are not apartments. They're not dwelling units.
It's not efficient.
It's about efficiency, because it doesn't have.
Right, there's no cooking facilities inside, so it cannot be classified as a dwelling unit. I guess my question is, what do you need from the owner to get approval? I mean, do you have a site plan application? I'm happy to help out, but I need to know what you need.
As far as town hall, we just need the occupational license. You can submit the site plan, but I don't know if the council needs anything else.
Yes, Mr. Gay?
Can I speak?
Yes.
which is not consistent with the land development code. So apparently there was a change in the land development code sometime in the last 4 or 5 years, but we can't find the document that was executed by the council and the town manager. As far as the motel goes, as of last week, it did not have a permit from the Division Hotel. So if that's something since last week, if you could share that with us, it'd be great.
For an application.
And as far as what the town needs, there would, since the building was vacant for several years, so when something's vacant that long, in order to come back and it needs to be brought up to code, that would be, there's required parking defined.
The documentation from, I think he's going to show you something.
Okay, but it would already be zoned and all for that since it was a previous motel, I would think.
Correct.
I don't see where anything in the land development would change that. It was once operated as a motel.
He can send that to the council because he got a document.
All right, so he has a license. Okay, so he has a license, but since the thing was unoccupied for so many years, you have to bring it into compliance with stormwater, parking, a lot of coverage, and setbacks. And that would be in our land development code no matter what the changes in this. So they need to have a site plan that addresses all those items.
Now, in setbacks, he will be grandfathered with the setbacks because the building, you can't move the building. That if the new setback's 25 feet and that's at 15, I'm just using this as an example, he can't change that, the building. So I don't see how.
Well, I mean, his planner can speak to that. The building was vacant for years, so there has to be some way to bring that to our current code. I mean, that's what the land development code is for.
Right, but you can't change stuff like setbacks because that's going to be the
And the pavement and the parking and all that's up to code.
Like I say, we don't. Once we get a professional planner, we can address that. I think that's why we need a site plan.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
We have developed a site plan that addresses many of those issues, and it's not in presentation over there at the moment, but we can get it developed that way and present it to you. Take it forward as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions for him?
Any further questions?
I have one. I can speak. There was an issue about connection to the sewer versus the city water. And my understanding was there was septic put in. Is that correct?
When the place was built, yes.
Okay. And so how do you plan to use the water and the sewage system?
Issues.
There were new septic tanks put in, weren't they?
DEP approved them.
The health department and the Department of Health,
approved
they approved all of that because of the way the land is sloped.
Okay, and that's consistent with the LDRs for the town planning?
We can't override the state, so when the state said, okay, gave you the thumbs up, so that's what you use, you can use the septic tanks because of the way the property is sloped, then we're just we're a municipality, but the state gave him permission to do that in the health department.
And the house right next door that's been there for 40 years or more, they're on a septic tank. And so I'm sure that one will be more to dump into the river before theirs because theirs is up the code.
Okay, it was just a question that had come up in the community about off runnage into that spring.
It would take a long time for that septic tank to even need to be pumped out. With,
okay.
You know, like I say, the house next door that's owned by Ms. McClure, it's been there 40 plus years. So I'm sure that septic tank is probably running over if it hasn't ever been pumped out.
Okay, okay. It's just thank you for answering that for the citizens.
Okay.
Thank you.
The question I have is who would I speak to about getting your land development regulations?
You can speak with, Vanessa, we have a copy too, right?
So the what now?
The LDR.
I just need to get copies of those for email, is that not available?
Are they on the?
Or is there on their website?
Look at her, yeah. Scott gave us something,
Yeah.
the latest, so we can make sure you
Pretty
get
much
it.
everything we got from Scott. Yeah, everything we got is in terms of land regulation, everything planning and zoning, we came from, Mr. Gates. So we can give it to her.
I didn't know the state could trump the town on that issue.
Yeah.
I didn't know the state could trump the town on that issue.
I think that Barbara's situation is very similar to theirs. He's asking for a variance, and, you know, she went through the LDRs to do it, and I think that that's probably what needs to be done here, is go through the LDRs and get variances for the things that can't be changed. And if there's things on there that need to be updated, then that would come into focus.
I think the difference is that's existing and we're adding to and coming out towards the street. That's the only difference. That's the difference. It's existing. He didn't change anything in it besides possibility.
I've done these a lot of times, and I know that they have to address line item by line item. And I'm not saying you can't give them a variance for it, but the items have to be addressed. And I know Carol's probably very familiar with this. I've worked with her before.
Yeah, I'm sure once I get the land development regulations, we can look through and see what it actually meets and if there's anything that it doesn't. But you can't meet change. You can't meet setbacks that change since it was built.
Correct.
And honestly, it's grandfathered in. And all of the pavement and everything else is grandfathered in per Swanee River Water Management District. And even if we did need to add some, it would not exceed the threshold for needing stormwater management, which is 4,000 square foot of impervious surface. Because we don't look at anything for 2,000 or somewhere in there.
Any other comments that you may have? That I can address as a architect?
If you'll just come by and give a copy of the bill.
Beth?
Thank you. All right, fire damage, demolitions, dormants, home on Spring Street, town manager.
Okay, I spoke with the Stormans, actually, and, they said that they had, pretty much waiting on they had a neighbor who was gonna buy the property, so they're just waiting, they're gonna sell the property as is. And that neighbor was, supposed to do whatever they're gonna do with it, but they're waiting on one of their neighbors to purchase the property.
The restaurant and where the house was.
Well, the property, the burnt property.
So it's separate from the house, from the.
I don't know if it's separate, but they're selling it.
All right, FDOT contract.
Okay, FDOT contract. This is to maintain, is it 47? 41. I always call it 41, 47. The price difference from the previous contract, this is a 3-year contract that we talked about last month. They went over, I spoke with Mr. Cooley, Kevin Cooley, and they went up $2,000 to, it went from $12,000 to $14,000 for inflation and gas.
That's what the state's paying us.
Yes, to maintain 41 highway.
For the charges.
No.
And did you need an approval for that, or do you?
I do.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the FDOT contract?
I will make a motion to approve the FDOT Federal Department of Transportation contract.
We get a second on the motion.
Jacqueline Williams, second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Going on to the new business, TDC board appointment. I was on the board of, for the TDC, but because I have a new position, I'm no longer able to just go to those meetings because they're held at 12:30 in the daytime when most of us are working. That's for the tired people. So I was hoping someone on the council would take that position over. And the only person I can think is Miss Mary Berry, because she's retired. So it's just going to the TDC meetings, the Tourist Development Council meetings in Jasper once a month. They're always on Mondays and they're at 12:30.
Does it have to be a council member?
Yes, we would like for it to be a council
But
member.
it doesn't have to be a council member, right?
Yes, they prefer a council member. Did you accept it?
I accept it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can we have a motion to appoint Mary Berry to the TDC board?
I, Jacqueline Williams, move we appoint Mary Berry to the TDC board.
Can I get a second on the motion? Calvin, second on the motion. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mary.
Can I just say that to Mary Berry that I'm on that board? She's on that board. I'm very happy that you're on the board.
It's for y'all retired people. All right, fire damage demolition on the mobile home on Sunrise. That happened a month and a half, 2 months now maybe. I think Vanessa's gonna look into talking with the owner for that.
But I also want to address that with another, in my department, another way we can solve these issues.
Okay. Community movie night, Vice Mayor Jacqueline Williams.
Yes, I would like to bring back community movie night for the community, especially this summertime. We can sit out, put some lawn chairs out, have a little concession stand, just bring back a little bit of unity and just some togetherness. It's nothing to do. So I would like to ask, if the citizens would like that. If so, maybe we'll do it once a month. And we use the area here. We have the globe screen, we have all the popcorn, we have everything here. And not only stop it after the summer, if it, when it gets cold here, February maybe, then we can maybe move it inside. If it's not crowded, we still can continue to do a movie night. And then if the citizens would like that, just once a month, we put an idea of what movie that you would like, and we'll try to get something close to it so everybody can be flexible with what we watch.
Maybe we can put a list in a monthly deal with a couple of movies or 3 or 4.
And everybody kind of like let the citizens decide what we watch for the month.
Right.
Great idea.
Where would it be?
Here at Town parking lot here.
Okay, so what does it project on?
We have a projector screen.
Oh, okay.
I used to do it when I worked for the town. I used to do it at the community center.
Okay.
And so then the new council came and they would do it at the ballpark. But for the elderly people, it was hard to walk in the field with the ground unlevel. So it wasn't a real good idea to have it there. But people, we didn't have a whole lot to attend, but maybe we could get more people now that, we have different people in town and different, people looking for things to do, so.
And I would actually like to start it in July.
Yeah.
So let's get some ideas for movies. We're going to do some ideas for tonight, so we go in and start looking for it.
Well, actually, when does the bills will come out? When will they come out? When will the next bill go out?
The water man, 26th.
So that's like another week and a half. We can just put a couple of movies in there. If y'all, some of y'all in here now, just write down some movies on a piece of paper
Or
before you leave.
suggestions, so we can go ahead.
Suggestions, and we
Because I
can
want
put
this
this
to
bill.
start in July.
And then when we get the bill, when you come in to pay your payment or whenever after you get the bill, you can let us know.
So since I want to start in July, so can we give it a Saturday?
Let's
Do it the second Saturday in July.
Well,
You know you got your
I'm about to say
surplus.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
surplus.
we have the surplus date.
23rd, I got
That's
it.
the 23rd for the surplus.
Only one day?
It was the 23rd. It's 2 days. It was the first Saturday and the third Saturday. So we're gonna do the second Saturday.
Yeah, we can do the second or the fourth second. Let's do the second.
That's like that.
The first Saturday and the third Saturday.
For the surplus days. So
I thought it was the second Saturday, which is the 9th.
Maybe the second and
it was the second and the fourth.
Second and fourth.
It was the 9th and the 23rd.
Okay.
So moving night will be July the 16th.
Yeah, we could do the second. I mean, third.
The third Saturday.
Okay, yeah. 16th. July 16th. So bring your launcher and have them. Because the town already has a popcorn machine, we have a cotton candy machine, we have a hot dog machine.
Anything
We have all that.
James
We're doing that before.
We'll have our first movie. Anything James Bond.
No, they just free. We used to do it free, but we, I don't know, are we gonna do it free still, all of these, or should we come up with like something to help the town get $1 or $2?
Well, let July be
Free, and then we'll decide.
and then we'll, that's free to buy.
But the movie's always been free, it's just, the popcorn and just hot dogs.
And we have our first movie pick would be anything James Bond.
All right,
That's James Bond, right?
so we'll go on.
Y'all get a time?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do it at dusk dark, around 8:30. Yeah, but you can't see.
But you won't be able to see the screen because of the light.
You're on
Y'all can give us a Saturday. Sleep all day Saturday and then be ready for 8:30.
Bring mosquitoes.
Yeah. And I have some.
Yes, all right, so we'll go on to hiring of a town planner, planning and zoning. How my name, y'all?
But I would like to interject on that. So we have been trying to look for planners. After speaking, I think Mr. Gabe was saying that about finding someone other than Kimberly Horn, and he also wanted me to get all the things that we hired Kimberly Horn to do, which I know he's been calling and I've been calling and we haven't been getting through. So I actually spoke with Mr. People who's retired, but he told me that Ms. McGrath has our thing now, but she's out on hip replacement, so we're not gonna be able to get anything because they referred me to someone else, Allison. And Allison said she has to look through the archives and what have you and try to find it. I gave her the number for the projects that they did for us, so we're just waiting to get those back to at least get what Kimberly Horn has asked for. Because I was supposed to be with Mr. Gay, but I ain't have nothing to give him, so I ain't read to him until I get that information from Kimberly Horn.
And Mr. Gay, you've actually reached out to North Florida Professional Services also?
I've had no response from
No
them.
response.
I never get a response from North Florida Professional Services, so I don't even want to go with them.
They're busy all the time, but I can't get them.
So that's where we are with that, trying to find a planner. First, getting our documents that we've already paid for.
Or a refund.
Yeah, that's $10,000. We'll go on to the departmental and administrative comments. Anything from the public?
I have a question, and I guess I should have brought this up earlier during old business, because at the last meeting I attended, you had talked about going to a meeting to discuss the property right before the Highway 41 bridge, the old sewer plant, I guess, or the waterworks plant. And I was curious, what was the outcome of that meeting? What was the proposal that they wanted to do with that property?
I don't remember a meeting. We weren't going to a meeting about the property and the water.
Yeah.
Oh, you were going. Yeah, you were supposed to be.
That hasn't occurred yet.
It hasn't occurred. Do you have any idea what it is?
It's my understanding it's an economic development project proposal. I'm not at liberty to discuss more than
But
that.
it was not brought by local people or not at liberty?
There's a confidentiality, I'm not at liberty to discuss more than that, but again, the meeting hasn't occurred,
Yeah.
so there's nothing.
And as a representative of the Swanee Bicycle Association, we have a vested interest in that because our trailhead is right there at that entrance. And, we spend a lot, plus if we get the Woodpecker extension, it also will be coming out through that corridor.
The proposed uses, they're not industrial or commercial, it would be consistent with that sort of use.
Thank you.
So I don't think you need, that, again, when we find out more from the meeting, it just hasn't occurred yet.
Okay.
We'll share as much as possible.
Thank you.
I do want to address though when you brought up about the street, the sidewalk being put in from S&S.
Yes.
With Ray, ask Ray to let her know know about
For that short stretch.
yeah, he spoke with DOT.
Yes, I spoke with Kim Meadows with DOT, and she said right now, they're kind of reluctant on giving out money or any funding. So we probably better go through the county and ask the county to apply for a TA grant. But that can take up to 2 years. Then, so she's supposed to get back with me and give me a contact. The contact I had, he found out he had cancer, so he's out. So she's gonna give me another contact, and I'll contact him and find out exactly what we can do. So we all work on.
And something about the ditch.
Yeah, it's just a lot of construction, because you got that ditch right there.
Right.
And just like on the other side, they had poured concrete. I mean, it's more than just pouring a sidewalk right there.
Right.
There's a ditch there, and all that's got to be reconstructed, and it's a lot more than just pouring a sidewalk.
Right.
It's a
Right.
culvert.
They are gonna look into it.
No, yeah, I'm aware that, it's not just like that, but also, I just have blank, we talked about the streetlights and then wanting to move forward with that. Are there streetlights already there?
The street light, the historical street lights are already, those are the black.
Yes, yeah, but are those already on that section?
They're all the way down to, right at the park.
Okay, so they are all that way. So, because I was thinking, well, if they're going to be doing this additional streetlights to the bridge, then that would be a good
That was
time.
a project that was already done, and like Mr. Townsend said, it was supposed to stretch from the city limits on this end to the boat ramp. But the previous council said how they wanted to post, which most of them are too close, so they could have extended it, further, but it didn't get done, and so that was.
Well, thank you, Anita, for bringing that up and following up with that.
Well,
And Ray.
all right, town manager, nobody else from the public?
Anita, I just want to tell you I appreciate you being here because your past knowledge of all this stuff, I think is valuable.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You've been around a long time.
A long time.
All right, be nice.
Yeah, y'all gonna tell how young I am. All right, town manager?
Yes, I have a proposal before us, Town Council Ordinance 2022-001. Now, let me talk about this proposal first. This proposal pays the town $96,000 in funds that's unrestricted. With these funds, what the town can do is hire a code enforcement officer. That's the main thing everybody's coming up for. We need a code enforcement officer. We got $10,000 already for a planner, but we can add to this planner as well with these funds. So I'm gonna go over this, and I'm just gonna go over the highlights of this. And it is to repeal the ordinance that we had previously against the casino. Casino. Ordinance of the Town of White Springs, Florida, related to game promotions and electronic devices or stimulated gambling devices, providing for a prohibition against the use of electronic devices or stimulated gambling services, providing for exemption, providing for a permitting process, providing for violations, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of conflicts, and providing for an effective date. Now, as I go over this, keep in mind, the reason why I'm even proposing this because we have to increase a lot of services that the town has. The town has 748 people, and 400 of these people are water bill sewer payers. So everything that the state requires us to do is the same thing that Jacksonville has to do, except Jacksonville has 40,000 people to do it, and White Springs has 400 people to do it. So we have the same burden as other states. We have to keep up the same code. So I'm not gonna read this entire thing, but the business hours will be to 12 o'clock a.m. 12 o'clock, it shuts down. They're gonna have 2 armed security officers from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We're not gonna put a burden on our law enforcement officers. If they have more than 3 incidents in this 1 year, they get shut down and they lose. They revoke everything. They're gonna pay us 24. They start off with $1,000 with the application fee. They're gonna pay quarterly. It starts at $8,000 per month. We've already have applicants already that's dying to pay us this money. services that we can do. We can support the movie night. Let me go back.
And gambling.
We're only gonna have a limit of 2. We're not gonna crowd this town with gambling casinos everywhere, just 2. Just like we had that one on the edge of town, it'll just be 2.
Where?
They cannot be where, they can't be, they pick wherever they are. They just can't be 500 feet within a religious dwelling. A church or religious dwelling. No, I'm just going over the proposal. So they can't go over, they can't be
A church or a living dwelling?
religious.
Oh,
Religious. I'm from a little southern country. So,
Are you having a possibility of the school?
we don't have a school.
What was the school?
Location.
The location of the old school.
What about it?
She's asking the question, is that?
She was asking the question, is that legal?
I didn't hear it.
Is that the location of the place? That's what you're saying?
Is that an available location for them to hold?
Whatever place is available, long as it meets the criteria, it can't be within 500 feet of a religious dwelling establishment.
Okay, I have to mention this. Per the county attorney, gambling is illegal in the state of Florida, period. Period. Now, you've got sovereignty with tribes, and there are exceptions made, but it's illegal. And when gambling establishments open, the reason they stay open, they are in violation of the law. However, they are misdemeanors for that violation, and the people would rather pay the misdemeanor and continue, and it's also enforcement. And since we have enforcement issues, even if we have, just like for example, if we get somebody for code enforcement, if we don't have a magistrate, then we're dead in the water.
Well, that's also what we're going to use this money for. That when I go over it, I was going to tell you also we can hire a magistrate to come in. Even if they come in once a month, we'll have these funds to get some of the things that White Springs need. We need code enforcement, but we don't have any money in the budget for code enforcement. We need a magistrate. We can't afford a magistrate.
It's illegal to have.
Well, we have.
Not everything is illegal.
I'll let Mr. Copeland, Attorney Copeland, come forward and explain in more detail. And I have Attorney Corbin here too.
We don't have a grocery store.
Yes.
We don't have a grocery store.
Grocery stores are not coming here, but that's not, the grocery stores will benefit the citizens. But right now, if I can take some of the burden, financial burden off of the citizens, because right now, the only revenue that we have is from the water and sewer. That's the only revenue that the town has. And right now, we're increasing the water rates, the trash that came in last month, they told you that they're increasing their prices, so now we're increasing on the trash. We don't have any way to soften some of this stuff that the citizens are going to see. Because inflation is everywhere. You got it in your gas, you have it everywhere.
Does this have to be a referendum voted on by the citizens?
Yeah. Mr. Farmer, you may speak. I mean, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor Rivers. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Council members. My name is Fred Coburn. My law firm's been hired by the owners of the Coffee Cafe LLC that never had a violation against them, and they voluntarily complied with the Hamilton County ordinance that said no more electronic devices will be used to offer sweepstakes and game promotions. They were operating legally under the game promotions statute, which is 849.094. But because the county decided that using electronic devices to offer game promotions or sweepstakes was a nuisance, Coffee Cafe voluntarily complied with that. Coffee Cafe has hired my firm to request of you all reconsideration of your ordinance that did the same thing. And in return for your consideration and in an attempt to get you, convince you all that they have complied and they are not a nuisance, they agree that they would not have any alcohol on the premises. They would never have any minors on the premises. They would continue their strict compliance with the game promotion statute. They close no later than midnight. They pay for and have 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week camera surveillance accessible by the town if the town needed access to it or just decided it wanted access. They would have a silent alarm. They would have safes that are consistent with industry standards for drop safes used at convenience stores, grocery stores, anywhere that there may be cash deposits in the evening, and they would be inaccessible to humans without proper security. The security, there would be security signage and height markers similar to Ford and Saul's regulating convenience stores. There would be signage regulations where it wouldn't appear to be an internet cafe or a casino, as what was mentioned a moment ago. There would be 2 or more licensed and armed security officers if the town requests those anytime after 8 p.m. There would be no location within 500 feet of a religious organization. They would undergo strict background checks on all principal owners. The town manager said that the town may consider an ordinance, but would not allow a monopoly to just coffee cafe. So there would be 2 permit holders for operators with 5 or more machines. And there would be 2 permits available to those operators that had less than 5 machines. As to someone that wanted to apply for one of the 2 permits, the application fee would be $1,000 to compensate the town for reviewing the principal owners, reviewing their backgrounds, as well as criminal history checks. If they have criminal histories, then they wouldn't be allowed the application permit, and their application fee would be non-refundable. If they're granted one of the 2 permits, they agree to pay the town $96,000 a year, payable in equal quarterly installments. The first installment due up front, which would be $24,000. The town would, in the ordinance, the town would agree to increase the number of permits to 3 or so on for every 500 increase in population. So you wouldn't see an explosion unless the town council decided to reconsider your ordinance and allow more permits voluntarily. That has nothing to do with my client. That is up to you or your future colleagues. Those are the highlights. Again, in some, Coffee Cafe never violated any law. They were never in violation. They wanted to be a good steward of the county. They want to be of the town. They are not interested in people that want to be at a casino. They're not interested in rowdy crowds. They're interested in employing people and being helpful to the town, as well as being small business owners.
Any questions? I have a question for, because it's for your people.
I was asking the council.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
You're gonna go ahead and answer. Right, go ahead.
There is lack of parking at the current cafe. The parking that is currently there, the people that attend park across the sidewalk. Will there be additional requirements for new parking? And then the other biggest complaint I have, one of the other complaints I have is the litter and trash. Every morning, I bicycle down there, and after they've had a Saturday night, it's littered with, beer cans and other trash. Now, I'm not saying that the people brought it in, but they certainly are leaving a lot of litter alongside the road. So that would need to be addressed as well. The parking is an issue, as well as the litter.
The parking, I don't know, that place is in the county. So it's not in the city limits.
Oh, they're gonna move it.
So whatever establishment that they're seeking, if we decide to repeal this ordinance, will have to be inside the city limits because they cannot do anything outside of the county.
Oh, okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
So, I've just been here for 4 months, but my understanding is White Springs is a historic town with ecotourism. And my question is, does gambling fit into that ecotourism in a healthy way? We know gambling is addictive. Is that going to be good for our town long haul? On the short run, we need the money. I get that. Is there another way to get the money by maybe getting a grocery store to open up and selling property? or liquidating properties, that the city owns. So my question is a tough one. Is gambling good for the town of White Springs and its citizens?
We do need a grocery store, and the problem with that is most grocery stores won't come here because we don't have enough population.
Yeah.
And answer that, I'm not a gambler at all. However, we do have gambling anyway. You have scratch-off tickets, you have the lottery, so it'll be an attraction to those that do it.
Yeah.
And for those of us that don't, we won't. But I mean, either way, I look at it, we need money. We really do. $96,000 is good when you don't have anything, when you're upside down.
Yeah.
Because it's things that we do need in White Springs. And as far as the water bill, you have somebody may pay it this month, may not pay it next month, may be off for 2 months, and come back and get it turned back on. So it's either way. We can't say we have 438 people that's going to pay their water bill every month. We cannot count on that.
Especially on 200,000 because we're going to have.
Yeah.
Stop.
Well, who should go on and draft this ordinance? I have a draft of the ordinance right here.
No, this was the ordinance that we did this.
Who drafted it?
No, you didn't.
So, Mr. Kirby, I drafted it. So,
oh yeah, this is it.
What I have says first reading. Is this the first reading tonight at this meeting, or is this just a discussion?
This is not the first reading, as it wasn't noticed as a first reading.
No.
This is just a
So
discussion.
right now we're having a discussion. The first reading will be advertised.
Well, what would make our city council think that they know more than all the counties and cities and all the surrounding areas to prohibit this stuff, and why would we invite it? The school just sold it. The school sold us now on this. It's all public tax roll will be taxed. It'll be assessed at probably $5 million. That's $100,000 a year in tax right there that we'll receive next year. So by improving our properties and letting these properties turn over, we'll increase our ad valorem tax base. We don't need this stuff right here. This is like a piece of candy. It's like crap. It sounds good right now, but it's going to have a detrimental effect on the town, on property values, and our citizens. Nothing positive about these gambling operations. And you can't convince. I'd love to hear the discussion between you folks up there about positives and the negatives of this, rather than just having an attorney draft an ordinance and stick it in front of us. I'd just like to hear you discuss both sides of the equation. Thank you.
I got a question. Okay, y'all are saying it's gonna have a negative effect on whatever. This casino that was here has been open how long? About a year? A little over a year? Okay, so can any of you who are saying that it's gonna have a negative effect on the community tell me what negativity it brought to the community? I don't gamble, I don't know, I don't go, but you all are saying that this is what's gonna happen, so can you please give me in the 24 months that it was here, what negativity did you see from the one that was here?
I can just speak on that from research. We know that gambling, what it does, is an addiction. We know.
Alcohol is an addiction.
To
Pills are addiction.
But to be specific to White Springs, no one has done any research. There's not been a study. There's not been an impact study. So it's hard to speak on. But I think generalized, if you look at other towns that have allowed gambling and what it's done for those towns, I think we can do some research and we can say, is this a good fit for us? Is this what we want? So I just think we need to not move too fast on this and do some due diligence and take the time to see what other towns have done and how they answered those really tough questions about, is this good for us or is it not good for us? And look at the future.
I'd like to say one thing because by where I work at, I know lottery tickets and stuff is gambling and everything, and people do buy them. But I have met a lot of elder people and people in general come in and they really do miss the little casino, whatever they call it, because they want, they say that's all they have to do.
Right.
That's all they have to do. And it's something for them to do,
Right. And again,
that's unhealthy.
They can spend the same amount of money on lottery tickets as they can spend in there.
Well,
you can go buy a roll of tickets.
Oh, they do. Trust me.
They do.
And again, we don't have control of what people are going to do with their money. But if it's easy and if it's available to use their money for gambling as opposed to buying healthy food or doing other healthy things like riding bikes. But it's a choice that we're putting right here in front of our citizens and our youth. And so maybe they're not old enough to go in, but they're watching it and we're accepting that it's available. And I think we're sending a message to the future. That's just my personal view on that subject.
Mr. Brazil?
I got it. I'm retired law enforcement. I was a captain of the sheriff's office in South Florida. Did 30 years in when I retired. There is a reason, like Scott said, there's a reason all these communities around us are getting rid of these casinos. We had numerous casinos in Columbia County that got rid of because they were robbed. Maybe this particular casino that was open in the cafe didn't have problems. I don't know. It went in there. But heard about the littering, heard about the parking. I don't know where they would put one of these things. I don't know what building's available that has adequate parking for this. But I think, I think you're making a deal with the devil here for a little under $100 grand a year. I think it's a bad idea for the town. There's a lot of other things we can bring in. I remember discussions a few years ago, I worked with one of these with the council. They were talking about a medical marijuana dispensary up here. Y'all didn't want that. But the council at that time didn't want it.
They voted for that. Nobody ever decided to come.
Yeah, but I just think it's a bad idea. I think allowing this, because now that all these casinos are shut down, who's going to come to this? Not only the older people of White Springs, they want to go in there again, you're going to get everybody from around here coming to this because there's not any open anywhere. Live Oak closed them, Swanee County, Hamilton County, Columbia County. They will shut them all down. That's just my opinion.
Yes, Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. If you don't mind, I just want to speak for a second. So I was one of the people, I'm a huge advocate against gambling. Have always been my whole life for certain reasons. And I was the one that was instrumental in pushing the county commissioners and different ones to shut down the ones in Columbia County. Unfortunately, what I found out is, in my research, is that sometimes you can take a personal belief, right, and try to mandate and make that a matter of way of life for other people. And I found that to be very wrong of myself. And then when I further did research, and even if you talk to Sheriff McCall, you talk to all of the other folks in dealing, and it was almost a deal reached between the county and the city, that every casino that had armed security had zero problems. It was only the casinos that did not have those armed security and people in place to deal with those type of issues. My next point I want to make is that I met a lot of church folks and older folks, my aunts and different ones. They look at it as an opportunity to fellowship and camaraderie, not necessarily gambling, but to have fun, and that's just a part of the nature of it. Also, you say that a lot of places are shutting them down, but I just left the federal courthouse dealing with a good friend of mine, and so I was speaking to a lot of different attorney and judges. Duval is getting ready to open the whole thing back up to these particular casinos, and what you're gonna see is a shift of everybody allowing them to come back. And so if White Springs is smart before the floodgate open and everybody else start letting them back in, that you come and let them back in and make your money and establish them here before other bigger cities begin to attract them back and you lose out on opportunity. That would just be my personal input, and the town needs this type of revenue. One thing about a small town, and people keep misunderstanding this, small towns cannot stay small forever. When there's potential and opportunity to grow, you should do so. There's a negative impact to everything you do, even getting up in the morning. And so I don't think you should look at it that way. I think you should say, hey, look, it's a good opportunity for the town for revenue. Let's put all the pieces in place to make sure that our town is safe. And we do have some type of statistic of saying we had one right here at the corner of the city limits for 24 months, and we had no incident. So we do have some type of data survey and statistics. Thank you.
Mr. Price?
Whether I'm for or against, it nothing to do with this. y'all vote on it, I would encourage you to make sure there's a way to not get locked into that amount we're talking about, so that you can leave them of money, you know, if they're very successful, and somehow keep track of that. You know, I remember years ago when I first moved here, all people that lived out in these woods back in the 40s when the phosphate paper companies were buying the mineral rights and the temple rights. Smart people had a clause in there that says, okay, 10 years from now, I want to relook at this. The people who weren't thinking, getting the same amount of money then, now as they did nearly 100 years ago. So,
I guess we'll be a little smarter because it does say a year here. So we'll review it after each year.
I can't see. I lived in Nevada for 10 years. I love the gambling casinos. I do gamble. But a lot of people, I mean, I go out with friends or take out business people, and they would enjoy themselves. The people here have nothing to do at night. I agree with one of your council members' comment. And at least it's an internet cafe in some respects. If you don't own your own internet at home, which is expensive and you can't afford Winstream, by God, you can go to that casino and use the internet there. I think this town, I couldn't believe that a few people made the decision to shut down the casinos, because I mean the internet cafes here. I believe internet cafes can bring revenue like they did in Las Vegas and Reno, where I did business. I mean, it's ridiculous. And some of the small towns like Hawthorne and a few others in Nevada, they grew. And we have never allowed this town to grow in the manner in which we wanted it. We've not had enough revenue, and everybody's salaries have increased in this town over and above what anybody did. So we need that additional revenue because it's all under contract. So I am for the not gambling, but the internet casinos in accordance with the way the statute is written that Mr. Coberline stated.
Mayor, I may be outside of Robert's rule, but I just want to say something real quick, if you don't mind, is that in doing the casino, if that's something that the pleasure of the council ends up doing, that I would suggest that a licensed firearm carrying company come in that's licensed, got their G light, I mean, that they're Class A, that they're certified, not none of this flashlight top type organization.
That's right.
I wouldn't like anybody going in there that's on public assistance. I don't want my
Can't tell who to go. They buy lottery tickets.
You know, I object to that more strongly than anything else.
Yeah, you can't ban them. You can't just bring people to say, oh, you on public assistance. They don't do it at the store. I mean, the little store, the store for lottery tickets. Mr. Gay, one more question and we're going to have to move on.
Well, since this is not technically a first reading, can I request that we have a town workshop on this so we can discuss it outside the confines of the public meeting, legal meeting?
Up to the council. Treasurer of the council.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Comer.
Mayor, Your Honor, if to sum this up so that I can address the comments that we've heard and how the ordinance takes care of some of those comments. I'd invite anyone who had a negative experience at Coffee Cafe to speak on that experience at this time so that I can sum up on those comments.
Well, I paid them, and there was no negative, nothing. It was always relaxing, something to do.
The name is a little misleading. I've had
Is there any
parents-
negative comment as the Coffee Cafe?
Are there any negative comments?
Right here. The name, and you change the name because we have tourists that come in and I talk to them.
I'll address the name. Is there any other negative comments specific to Coffee Cafe?
Well, I know I went in looking for coffee with my cousin.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we're going to stop. Mr. Coberline has the floor, please.
Your Honor, my client will agree to coffee.
Thanks.
As to the other issues, no other local government in this area, which my office represents several of them, have been introduced as strong an instrument as this ordinance. They've never had this ordinance to consider. The parking would be consistent with any other business on that zone lot. If that zone lot allows for 10 cars, then my client's going to have 10 or fewer cars. If it needs more parking, then it will do exactly what any other legal business in the town is doing. And it will move either more parking or it will buy up more parking. The alcohol is a non-issue. They don't want alcohol in the premises. They're not interested in that clientele. They never have been. Littering, this ordinance would allow each permit holder 12 months to pay for the opportunity to conduct themselves at the highest level. And if they do not, then their permit would not be renewed, whether they wanted to pay the fee or not. And if they did not, 3 strikes and the permit's gone and the fee is not refunded. So, again, no other local government within the surrounding counties has been offered an instrument that strong. If you want to workshop it, that is certainly your right. My client will be going a couple of counties over and investing there. And I don't know if you'll have any other offers, but I think that you will have 2 offers on this ordinance, but they plan to be up in operation somewhere by the middle of July.
So if they're moving, what location are they looking at? If they're going to be open by July, they obviously know where they want to open.
He may not be at liberty to say that because he's representing his client.
Okay. I just don't
The
want to
school.
make
The school.
If the council would like to move forward with consideration of the proposed ordinance, you'll just need to decide when you want to have first reading. You can call a special meeting to do that. And you can also call a special meeting to consider adoption here. It's at council's discretion. It's important that you give notice that you're going to have first reading and that you give notice that you're going to have an adoption. You have to have first and second reading. Notice wasn't provided for this discussion. So I think what Mr. Carlin is telling you is his client wants an answer from the council in July. So it's the 14th of June.
We need a second respect meeting for the first reading. What is a good date? Is it the pleasure of the council to do a first reading first of all? We'll do the first reading. Going over this ordinance and approving the ordinance and we have a second reading. Most people still need to have a discussion and form the government.
Yes. Both meetings have to comply with 286. You'll all have to be here on the end of this meeting. It'd be my advice that if you're going to have that special meeting, announce it tonight. Because you have a lot of members of the public who are obviously interested in this issue right here.
Yes.
So schedule that. And then you can also go ahead in anticipation that you've adopted on first reading. Go ahead and schedule a second special meeting to consider second reading and adoption.
Okay, so we would like to set for a first reading, and I ask that so that y'all can be here to have some say so as well.
Thank you.
Next Tuesday, the 21st. June 21st. Is that okay?
I'm going to travel without giving you back.
Where is the notice going to be posted to the public?
I said I'm going to travel without giving you back.
You will deliver. Okay, so the 21st at 6:30. And then the second reading, we could do the 28th, following Tuesday. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So the 21st and the 28th at 6:30 for both first reading and then the second. It's June 21st
first and the second reading on June 28th.
And the clerk will, of course, have to prepare agendas, give notice, attach the draft ordinance to those agendas. So the clerk's going to review them. Because it's a special call meeting, the only issue on the agenda will be the proposed ordinance. So you'll call the meeting to order, you'll have the first reading and discussion, you'll decide by vote whether you want to approve on first reading, and that'll be the same agenda for the second.
I have to notice as a special meeting on it. Yes. Make sure you notice it as a special meeting, not a regular council meeting. All right, thank you, Mr. Overline. Thank you, Mr. Overline, will you be able to make those meetings? For the readings?
Yes.
Okay. Forgot to ask you. All right, town manager?
Okay, moving on, so, audit, we got, I got Michael and Mr. Powell all on the same page. Michael, last information for the 19 and 20 audit today to Mr. Powell, for him to submit his paperwork to, the state for that audit. Spoke with Jordan Associates about the CDBG grant, and, we're having to post advertisement. I told them that the council was already in, agreement on what type of, grant we wanted to do. But what we have to do is we have to have a public meeting before the council to see which one we want to offer. Now, when we have that public meeting, the council members do not have to be there, but we do need to have a meeting for the public so they can give input on which way we want to go with that grant. There's 4 ways that they can use that grant. We discussed that at that time. I know the council was interested in housing, but we have to go over that, and then after that discussion, then we can advertise for the first reading of that. And the app's closed July 15th, so we have to move fast if we want to get in on this grant. So if we're going to have a meeting with the public, we need to go ahead and schedule that. What? The second day? I said 7 days. Okay. We probably can do that on the.
No, we can't do that at special meeting.
No, I know we can't do it there, but we have to have it advertised. We must have it advertised for 5 days before we have that public hearing. So if we have to get it into Riverbend by Friday in order to, and it has to be advertised for 5 days. So we can't have it before, let's see, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday. Before Wednesday, we cannot have that public meeting, so it would have to be Thursday or later.
Could we do June, anybody can do June 23rd on Thursday?
At that meeting, I was told that the council don't all have to be there because you're not voting on anything. It's just a discussion with the public.
June 23rd, most of the public is okay with that, on the Thursday, for a public meeting?
This is in regards to
The CDBG grant, which the council discussed last time, and we kind of decided that we would like to use that money for fixing houses.
Oh, okay, okay. I remember that.
Rehab.
Okay.
So June 23rd at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. And that'll be noticed as well as a public meeting.
Yeah, it would, you have to be advertised. Okay, and, okay, right now we've done all we need to do right now to, be able to use the ARPA funds. We're just waiting back. I spoke with the firm that's handling that, and like I said before, we're good on that. FDOT, that's the contract we just did. That's the $14,200. So we've all up to date on that. And I spoke about Kingdom Corn. Now, the fire department. Okay, I am. The fire department is it's a little sticky. So we do have a fire chief. I would like to introduce the interim fire chief, Mr. Steve Smith. And that, did I pronounce the last name correctly? Still. S-T-I-T-A. Now, I spoke with Mr. Land also, and According to Mr. Land, I spoke with the new interim fire chief and Mr. Land. We're still not able to open the fire department. We have an active fire department, but we can't because first thing is all the equipment in there, most of it is expired, or we can't find it. We have expired air packs from I think 2019. We have all the fire jackets, everything is on the floor, it's dirty. We can't find radios. We only have, I think we found 2 out of 8 radios that they found over there. We don't even have equipment to give fire. We don't have an inventory list. We don't know what's over there that the firemen need to go out. We don't have that equipment to even give to them. And if we have it, it's expired. Also, for some reason, and Audrey was telling me, hey, why the fire department got bulletproof vests? And we was like, no. So we had a meeting with Henry Lane, and we was trying to figure out why we got bulletproof vests. So, you know, we was like, oh, I don't know what she's thinking about. It must be something else. Lo and behold, we go over there, we find bulletproof vests. We found one, then Mr. Smith, he found 2 more, so we have a total of 3 out of the 4 bulletproof vests. What I don't understand we need, so right now it's not even safe for us to have anybody try to go out and put, because they don't have the equipment. Also, the chief truck is inoperable. So I talked to FMIT, found out it was an insurance claim in 2019. I have pictures also in here of the damage. The truck has a screw in there where they screwed in the bumper or what have you. It's still dented up on the driver's side, but it is inoperable because it does not even have the seatbelts don't work. You can't, the seatbelts are locked. So we have to send that to the shop. I don't know if the town got paid in 2019 for this, how it was reported. Now, it wasn't, according to FMIT, it wasn't a police report conducted on this accident. I do have pictures of the accident. So now, that's another expense that we have to get that truck fixed. So that adds to more equipment that is inoperable.
Have you been able to ask the chief or anybody in the fire department if they know what happened to the truck?
I have not a new chief, yes, but I haven't spoken to the former chief in about 9 months. So we've reached out, and we reached out to them about the truck or whatever. But we didn't get any answer. So any of the equipment.
Excuse me, the truck, he hit a deer one night in the truck.
He may have hit a deer. It does say that on the report he hit a deer, but that still does not negate the fact that they're driving for 2 years on equipment that could put the town at fault. Even with no seatbelts, even with the equipment that they're using to go when they're putting out fires, which is expired, puts the town at risk because it's expired. So everything that's going up, the fire department is not operable because we don't know what we have over there. We don't know what equipment that will work or whatever. So speaking to the interim chief, he was saying that it's going to probably take him at least 2 weeks to try to get it together.
The interim chief is the worst chief you could ever have.
Excuse me, but you're out of order. You have to ask to have the floor.
So basically, and then the interim chief came in. He has an inventory list, and he's trying to go through his detailed inventory list that he had and trying to figure out everything that's missing. We only found 1 chainsaw. We got a couple chainsaws because we had a couple of them in the shop. It was 4 in the shop, but we only have 1. So it's a lot of money that's out there that we don't have and that we can't find, that we have to buy. Because when we get operational, if we don't have this stuff, we need this stuff for the new fire people. Now, for us to be operable, like I said, he has to continue to go through the inventory, try to find the things that they need, just the bare minimum, so they can operate.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't heard a single word from anybody. I've sent emails, I've tried to call, I haven't received anything.
Now,
Would you like to address that?
I would love to address that.
Ask for help, I mean,
Now,
to go over everything and that, I mean.
I would love to answer that. Now, we had a fire chief.
You asked the question, so I was was letting her address your.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, then finish, and then she can address it.
And that's my thing. No one's reached out to me about anything, asked me about anything. I've reached out several times and tried to get in contact with somebody regarding the issue, regarding the matter. I busted my butt to try to get all the paperwork up to date and everything, working with Henry and working with another chief to get everything taken care of and squared away. According to Henry, everything was except for the fit test, which his machine needed to be recalibrated. We were trying to schedule with him as soon as he got the machine back. I have reached out to 10-8 Fire Equipment down in Tampa to get the air packs up to date, have them come in and tested and everything like that. You know, I reached out to my superior again. That was on him to bring that to the attention. It wasn't my job, but the only thing I'm asking, I'm requesting right now is I have thousands of dollars of personal property in there that I would like to retrieve that belongs to me. All the equipment that you're saying is missing and not there was all in there when the doors were shut.
Okay, so now, hold on. So now we need to go in there and find it, because stuff is, like I said, going on the floor, but I would love to address that. Now, we had, my staff is here, they're calling my staff, they're talking ugly to my staff, and they're saying certain things to my staff. Then they get on social media and say untruth. About every, so what I'm not gonna do is have a conversation with him that's not out in the open, so you can't go back and say I said or did anything, because at this point you've created a hostile work environment. I don't know how you think you can work with someone or speak to a supervisor and then you think you're gonna go to work under them. You created a hostile work environment. I'm talking, what you go. No, we got to determine.
You're out of order, Mr. Brazil.
What we're going to determine is
Can you remove him? Can you remove him?
3 times he's quit. Y'all read the letter.
I have.
He hasn't done a good job.
And I'm tired of.
And the personal equipment, I do want to address something that is over there. Your personal golf cart is over there being charged using towns electricity.
It hasn't been plugged in because the batteries haven't been plugged in for over a year and a half.
Well,
why would it even be stored over here on town property? Your personal golf cart shed.
Also,
that's not a storage shed.
Also, we had the trailer out there. Y'all can go out there and look for yourself. Had decals, everything else. The town of White Springs Volunteer Fire Department. All of a sudden, we don't have any decals on there except White Springs Fire Department. All the decals has been slowly taken off. If you think I'm going to take a look, the trailer right there, you will see where the decals were. What is the purpose? That trailer was donated to the town of White Springs by Nutrient, by Firehouse, all those people that had their decals on there. If any of you donate anything and you put your name on there, we should not be taking it off. It's no reason. What reason is it? Now, if y'all can come up with a logical reason, besides I'm going to take it home, what reason will we take these decals off on this donated equipment? I can't drive the city's truck and take the decal off. That's not my property. I want you all to go out, look at that white trailer right there. You'll see where the decals was, even the emblem for the crest for the fire department is off. Now, I understand people saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this." This should have been done 2 years ago. The equipment is outdated. 2 years. So 18, 19, it's stuff that's dated. You may be trying to do it now only because the flashlight is on. So guess what? When we get in a year, we're going to be right back where we were. Now, we was here last year about having to suspend the fire department. Why? Because we didn't have physicals and the fire department first aid. Only until the flashlight gets on is when the fire department say, "Hey, listen, let me do what I need to do." If you're a nurse or you're a child care worker, you know you got to have CPR first aid. Nobody has to call you and say, "Hey, listen, you need to update your license." So now it becomes the fault of the town manager and the council because people are not keeping up with their certifications. I'm not going to let anything happen to this town. This town cannot afford a lawsuit. Now, if somebody mad I gotta close it because I'm not gonna let this town get a lawsuit. I refuse. Y'all can hate me, but I will not let White Springs get a lawsuit. Because people are not doing what they have to do. So when we find someone that can help us out and find equipment and help us get up to date, I'm going to take it and I'm going to run with it. Because White Springs, yes, you all deserve better. Yes, you all deserve a fire department. But you also deserve responsible people that's going to keep up with the equipment that you have brought. Those radios, $1,200 each. Guess what? Now we got to buy radios just so we can have people to go out. And we praying about personal property. Bring the town to property so we can operate. And you're saying it's in there, so guess what? Now we got to go in there and find it. And now we got to either spend money to go in there and get it clean or get somebody in there because we got a couple people that's been going there trying to find equipment when we should have it all in a place where we can put our hands on it. This is ridiculous. We got a truck that's being driven and it has no seat belts. But we have to see this as a problem, not just on the driver's side, but on the passenger side. We say we get a deal. Okay, I understand. We're in the country. But we have to report these things and get them fixed. You don't keep driving. We have to get them fixed. The other issue, when I had to take the gas cars, I have the utility director who come over here 6 days a week to check the water plant. The sewer plant. 6 days a week. When somebody who lives right behind town hall has more mileage on a city truck than someone who lives in Lake City, who comes over here 6 days a week, we have a problem. You are abusing municipal funds.
Also,
and I'm not going to do it.
What Mr. Henry said that they were going on calls.
Going on calls.
Dispatch.
Exactly, that you're not being dispatched. And it's not just one person. We had the chief as well. The mileage sheet, everybody has a card that's assigned to them. And when I look at the mileage, local people have a higher mileage than someone out of town. This is ridiculous. It would be irresponsible of me to let it go on to you because these are your dollars. And that's what I'm here to do, is to protect your dollars and make sure you don't have to pay extra for extra stuff that don't make any sense.
All that being said, I can't agree or disagree, but if the fire department hadn't arrived at my house, I'd have suffered a lot more damage because I was at the very end of being able to keep it under control with my garden hose. That's the importance, and they did a good job. I'm not speaking to the equipment or anything like that, but
they were.
I couldn't have kept that fire at bay 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes. It was roaring up the side of my house, and they got there at that point in time and put that part out.
And there were several departments that responded.
Oh yeah, they were still the first ones there. The other ones came out in front. Yes, I wrote a letter to every one of them. Were great. It was nice. So anyway.
That was the same thing with this historic Eswani Bicycle Association headquarters a few years back when the pizza place burned down next to us if it hadn't been for them. So maybe that's where we get the gambling casinos here, or cafe. Maybe that's where we dedicate the money. Really,
we can definitely give money to get more firefighters and tax more firefighters and pay them more. But we have to have responsible people. Just because you get the hose or do whatever, somebody had to do a claim because they fell out. We don't know. It could have been because the equipment was faulty and outdated. But we can't continue to operate because if it was a blessing, Mr. Price, it was a blessing. But if they would have got hurt, guess what? We would have had a big bill. A big bill. And guess who would have fell off?
all I'm saying is we need a fire department. And
we have a fire department. We have a fire department.
We have a
fire department. It's just going to take 2 weeks to get it operating.
We just got to buy the equipment.
Thank you.
We have a fire department.
Absolutely.
This is nothing about prejudice. This is nothing about Henry Land. They did a workshop the other day. It was Friday. They did a workshop to figure out what they need to do for the county.
Correct.
Whether they need to put paid firefighters in these departments.
Yes.
That's what they're discussing.
I mean, in reality, even talking to Henry Land the other day, he says, it's hard to get volunteers. You can't get them anymore. They have to keep the same requirements that firefighters do, whether it's Columbia County or any other county. They have to keep, so it's hard to get firefighters. So that's why the county is trying to discuss.
And you're a firefighter too, correct?
Yeah, like this here, it says, how many people would you need to hire if we had a department here? Well, that's what they're looking at. What's the county going to take? Because they know it's come to a point. They're going to have to do something.
Right.
So it's not about what ain't there, what is. We've only got 2 people, 1 person, no people. You know, we had the next meeting. I'll give you what my thought is, and that's what I said. That's why I'm going to be the interim. I'm going to tell you what it is. To say you need to have the funding for a firefighter every day, at least 1 or something. You have to, because people have jobs, just like the council said. We work during the day. People work during the day, unless you got somebody retired. Well, most retired people are not firefighters. They're retired.
They're retired for a reason.
So they're retired for a reason. So it's not about, I'm just saying, this turns out to be craziness, and it shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't be that way. If nobody, I looked over there the other day trying to find a roster to call people. No roster I can't find to call somebody, go, hey, listen, I'll be glad to talk to anybody when we get done here, whatever, about the firefighters that want to be, not be, they want to get their stuff, that's fine. It's not about booting anybody anywhere. It's about making it work. But I'm telling you, the stuff that I found, every one of you is liable for this stuff. You would get a fine on this. This stuff is from Henry. This is ISO stuff. This is no maintenance records on the engines or anything. So we just got to get it done.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. It's not pointing fingers at nobody. It just got to be done.
It just has to be done. Right.
Mr. Gay?
Mr. Stitt just mentioned ISO rating. Does anyone know what the town's current ISO rating is?
When we left, it was 4 or 5.
What is it now?
I have no clue.
How do you
Been
find
here
out?
1 or 2 days.
How do you find out?
It's by the last rating that you got. And if you call them in, they'll come in and give you, you'll have a big fat zero right there. So if somebody wants to call, it's only going to be detrimental to everybody in here.
No, don't need to call them in.
But I'm just saying, when you're.
No, you're right. Yeah, because you're gonna have someone hear that, and then they'll go call thinking they're hurting us.
Yes.
But they're gonna be hurting
They're
everyone.
gonna hurt everybody, so we had a 4 or 5, which was good. I mean, it improved, and that's the way we left it. So I'm not saying it's higher than that, but they don't come around just because they come every 2 years or 3 years. You call them because you want a rating to make your insurance go down. Well, if they come and go now, they go, zero. That's what you get. Well, 9, 10, 5, 4. I mean, 4 and 5 is better than 10.
My question, is that document? I mean, is there somewhere?
There is a document that says 4 or 5. I'll have to find it because I got the thing.
I'd like to see that.
It was Mr. Farley was here. We got it. I'll find it up.
Go ahead.
My whole thing is, whatever issue she has with me or whatever, I just want to know, am I going to be allowed to be in there and retrieve what belongs to me? Who do I have to
We can
speak
schedule, we can schedule a time when it's me and someone else. You can go ahead and go in there and make sure it's your personal stuff, not the town's.
I ain't stealing nothing that belongs in town. Whatever I brought
everything in there.
that was given to me, that is in that building, I want to retrieve out.
What
That's
you
all
mean given to you?
That was given to me, that I reached out to people and said, hey, would you be willing to give this to me?
You can't take anything like that. You can't take any fire apparatus. You can't take, oh, this is my axe, this is my jacket.
No, I'm not.
You can't take that. It was donated to you. You can take the furniture and rate them on behalf of the town.
My workout equipment, my couch that's in there, my recliner that's in the office.
A recliner and a couch.
You can take, I don't want anything that's related to, I don't want anything that's
talking about
donated
taking my
to.
town stuff. I'm talking about taking my stuff that I brought in there personally and put in that station.
We have no problem with you getting
That's
your
all I'm
personal
asking
stuff.
for.
I'm just saying,
That's
nothing
all
that
I'm
was
asking
donated to fight fires or to the fire station. But
Exactly. I
anything
don't want none of
else,
that stuff. I have no need for that. I want my personal belongings that I have in there that I was given to me.
we can definitely coordinate that.
When can we set it up?
When are you available?
I'm available every day after 4 o'clock when I get off work. Monday through Friday.
You and the interim chief.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm not.
I have to get with Thomas to figure out.
And, yeah, let
I'll
me
plan on
know.
getting over it Thursday and Friday, but, working on it tomorrow morning, but, other than that, you know.
Well, we'll go with your schedule. You're gonna be here Thursday or Friday?
Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, what's that?
We'll be here majority of the day, I mean.
Just get 4 o'clock.
Yeah, Friday would probably be a better day after 4.
We do Friday?
Yeah.
Thursday. Thanks. See? Problem solved. Simple, easy.
All right, are there any more comments? Yes.
I just have a question. We moved here 5 months ago, and now I figured out, okay, we don't have a fire department. Who comes to our house if our house is, we don't want any old 120-year-old houses? Where does the fire truck come from?
Right now, even before when we had a fire department, we had an agreement with with Genoa, Jasper, and Winfield. They all come to the fire. They're all gonna respond.
Not just our fire department.
Not just our fire department. So they're still responding.
Okay, all right.
And they are good.
Pardon me?
And they're good.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I had no clue, so I thought we.
First time you moved here, you did have one. It just happened.
Ray, you have anything? All right, no other comments? Meeting adjourned 8:17 p.m.